Hi, everyone. Brien Lundin here again of Gold Newsletter and the New Orleans Investment Conference. And I have with you today a conversation and update with Jonathan Buick, the CEO of Idaho Champion. Idaho Champion is a company that I have recommended in Gold Newsletter. Actually started recommending a few months back and have been watching for 2 or 3 years, I believe, Jonathan. And the issue has always been that I've loved the projects. I like the jurisdiction in Idaho, of course, but the company has never had enough money. Like a lot of juniors going through the doldrums in the junior mining market, didn't quite have the financial wherewithal to have an organized, comprehensive exploration plan for its 2 projects. Once it was able to get that money and lay out a plan for me, I quickly recommended it in Gold Newsletter. And now we're seeing that those exploration efforts are just starting to bear fruit, yet we're still at a good, what I view as a great buying opportunity or a point in the market, entry point in the market in terms of share price. The company is traded on the Canadian Stock Exchange. The symbol is ITKO, as you can see on your screen, and on the OTCQB GLDRF. Jonathan, thank you so much for being with us today and being with me and giving me an update on your projects.
Brien, nice to see you. Nice to hear your voice, and thank you for having us back. And looking forward to having a conversation today. So thank you, and thank you to your listeners.
Well, good. I had mentioned that we are starting to see the fruits of your labors and the money that you were able to put into exploration and actual drilling on one of your projects so far. So why don't you kind of bring us from ground zero, give us a good foundation, because some of our viewers won't be aware of the story. So let's start from the beginning and give us a broad foundation, then we'll drill into those results.
Sure. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to do a share screen. I'll just pull up a couple of slides I think that matter for anybody that's already aware of the story, but also getting familiar with the story or new to the story. So I'll just pull that up if that's okay with you.
Yep. There you go.
And then make sure I do slideshow. All right, there we go. So what I think is important for any investor is to understand the jurisdiction. And I'm going to speak a little bit to Idaho and then also about the management team before I go into some of the details of the funding, if that's okay.
Yeah. So
Idaho is now ranked 8th in the world by the Fraser Institute, 3rd in North America. It's continuing to show well. We've seen over $220 million raised for projects in Idaho in calendar 2020. So that's a significant sign of confidence and showing investor interest in the jurisdiction. Also highlighting that Idaho sits just north of Nevada. That's a man-made border. The geology does not stop at that border. Continuous mining jurisdiction since the 1860s, so it's a known mining state. And during the COVID pandemic, when a lot of people were told tools down, go home, the governor of Idaho deemed mining and exploration essential. So we had a significant advantage to our peers and colleagues in that we were able to stay busy and active in the field. And we were quite busy. We did, in spring of last year, we did 3 acquisitions and lease option to consolidate the Champagne camp. We believe that's a camp, not a project. And I'll go into some details on that while we speak. And then we also had active programs at Banner and Champagne once we funded. So July 31st of last year, we raised 8.1 million Canadian at 30 cents. We had 13 institutions participate, which was a tremendous vote of confidence for us as a team to see that type of participation and belief in what we have in terms of our assets. I think it's also important for any investor to understand and see where we're coming from as a company. As a management team and board, we own about 32% of the company. We think it's important to align ourselves with our shareholders. We're buyers of stock, not sellers of stock. I've told my board, if you need to sell, you need to resign. We're here for wealth creating opportunity. I'm not here for 10%, I'm here for 10x. And I'm not afraid to say that. And I think we have the team in place and the assets to accomplish that. I was talking to one of our institutional shareholders earlier this week. We've been giving updates because we had an IP press release. And during the conversation, I said, our name is Idaho Champion. And to be a champion in anything, you need to be in the game. As a management team, we're in the game. We got skin in the game. And I invited him to increase his ownership. I said, join us further in your journey. Like, be a part of the journey. Like, you've got a taste, but why not take a significant position? The market's affording you a tremendous opportunity to buy at a discount to where you participated in the financing. It's half price where we were in the financing, do a number of things that were beyond our control. We've done what we said we're going to do in the field. We've got drill results out on the first batch. We've still got 20 holes to report. our IP that went out this week is what we think is going to be a monumental start to our 2021 program. So we think we're well positioned for a great campaign. We've got our geologic team in Idaho right now putting together the program and budget for this coming season. We still have got money in the bank. And so we're in a good position. We're fortunate that the company is in a position to continue to advance our knowledge. You know, the goal for us as a company is for both Banner and Champagne to lead those to mining decisions. And if we do that the right way, we'll be shareholders in a bigger company. And if it's still in our control, I'm happy to step out of the way and let the engineer who's going to come in and build this take my seat. You know, I'm here for the long term. We're aligned with our shareholders, and we think the news flow that we're going to generate will show the activity in the field and the knowledge gained through those programs. Still early days. You know, Banner was a new discovery. Champagne, our last fall was our first program where we controlled it. It was our first time, as I say, getting our fingers dirty on the project. So we're still got lots to learn, but I think we've learned a lot already, and now we can really refine our approach with still good news coming, but knowing what's about to happen in the field. We're really excited about where we are.
Good.
So this is Champagne. So the teal blue that you see was our original land package. The royal blue was ground that we staked last year during the spring. So we bought the data from Kinross, you know, typical big gold company. We approached Kinross looking for the data after we picked up the teal blue ground in February of 2018. They had no idea what we were talking about. It took them 9 months to come back. So yeah, you're right. We have the data. So we bought that during PDAC last year, and right before everything got shut down. And once we got it, my geos were pounding the table saying, "Look, you know, this is a camp, not just a project. We don't have enough ground." So we went out and we staked another 184 claims. You can see within the teal all the historic workings and old mines. We've got a number of old mines in addition to where the footprint is, which was the open pit that Bema had, and you can see the picture off to the right. So we've got a significant amount of new information in addition to that information. But where the open pit was with Bema, that was patented ground. That was 87 acres. And we now control 10 square miles or 26 square kilometers. So we have a much larger opportunity here.
On those historic mines, Jonathan, do you have any production records, grades?
We have grade, and we have where they went with the shafts and adits. So a lot of them were predominantly silver. Also, you see the one even called the horn silver. There was a mix of metals. There was copper, there was gold, there was silver, there was lead. If you look at even the Moraine tunnel that's labeled southwest of the pit, and you see the image on the figure 1 on the bottom right side of the screen, you can see the parallel zones running north, northeast, north, south, where there was a zinc lode, there's a copper lode, there's a bismuth lode. So in our program at the patents, we had a drill program where we drilled 6 RC holes and 7 core holes. Originally, we were just going to do RC, but once we started seeing what was happening in terms of the mapping and geochem and soils that we were doing around the property, the geos were like, we need to switch to core. We can get more data. So we switched to core. We had brought in 2 core rigs, and the goal of the program was how much oxide caps remaining. We know Bema mined 3 years, 25,000 ounce equivalent of gold and silver. There's a good silver credit here, but we know they also left ounces behind. So the target of our initial program is how much oxide cap is remaining. Is there enough there to really have a go at it? But at the same time, what's happening at depth? Bema never drilled below 100 meters. So our goal of 2020 was, is there an ore body to be touched? So we were limited where we could drill in 2020 just to the patents, but we're submitting our drill permit application to the DLM to be drilling across the larger land package. And with the IP that I'll speak to in a few minutes, we see a huge target to the northwest of about 800. We see a detached structure where the oxide cap was, and we think there's an opportunity. The real opportunity for us sits 800 meters west of where Bema had the operation. So sitting underneath the Reliance mine, the Ella mine, there was a feeder to all these old mines. They all stopped mining after they got to about 100 meters underground. Well, now we know why, because there was a fault line that came across and sheared it off. So we have that new information that had never seen modern technology brought to the project, and we just see a tremendous amount. And actually, maybe I'll just skip to a couple of these images. So
yeah, and but I don't know if you're going to address this, but one of the things that really piqued my interest when we first went over this project, Champagne project, is the fact that I guess it was Bema had drilled a number of holes to 15 meters depth and stopped in many cases in mineralization. So it was a bureaucratic decision that we are going to drill a grid of 50-foot holes, no matter what they end up in, because they were only looking for what they were about to scoop out. And so it's obvious, especially seeing that a lot of those holes ended in really good mineralization, that there should be a bunch more left.
Yeah, we think so too. And so we've talked to a number of the old BEMA guys, and they said, look, you look at the metal prices we were dealing with, we were, $6 silver, sub 250 gold. We had to be prudent. We weren't given a budget to be out doing regional exploration. We bought this, they bought that project off of Glamis, who had bought it off of Goldfields. They knew there was an oxide opportunity, and their goal at Champagne was to prove that they could become a good operator. And so they turned it into a producer, produced for 3 years, and then moved their efforts down to Central America and then later South America. We're confident there's still an oxide cap remaining, but having done the IP, and when we look at the IP, we think there's a much bigger opportunity at depth. If we look at just on the image in the backdrop, so what's labeled as Mine Hill, that was the old area where BEMA produced, and you can see the breccia here, but you can see the fault where it was cut off.
Is that the pit?
That the pit was up here, yeah, right here.
Okay.
And then you can see all that Moran tunnel that comes across here, but there's the zinc lode, there's a spar, there's the copper, there's the lead. We see that visually in the holes that we drilled on the core. Now we're waiting for those results. But I'm comfortable thinking that we'll see some mineralization that's probably a combination of base and precious metals, just based on what we saw in the Moran tunnel. But if we come over here and we see how it's been displaced, there's still that's because of the detachment. But if you see the St. Louis and the Ala and the Arco, this is obviously only line 3 of 6 lines. There's a significant, and as we go further to the north, it becomes shallower. So here we're sitting about 450 meters below surface. But if we go further north in the other lines, it starts at about 60 meters below. So we understand why they stopped mining at the Valley and the Ella, because they hit the fault zone and they didn't have any knowledge of what was happening at depth. Where now we're going to come in here and we're going to fence drill this, and we think we're going to make a discovery here of multiple metals, not just gold and silver.
Now that lower fault, is that confirmed, excuse me, by drilling, or is that part of the model, as well as, I guess, that breccia?
We were hitting faults with the core holes. Okay. The 7, so we did 7 core and 6 RC. We interacted the faults on all of those. Okay. And a couple of them we drilled through. Some of them just got too challenging. We didn't drill all the way through. But yeah, no, we were hitting faults throughout. And we went from the furthest north part of the patents right down to the furthest south. So we were drilling from the east to the west, seeing if we could touch that ore body. Now we know we didn't touch the ore body based on the IP, but we still think we're going to have some good mineralization. And having seen invoices come in from the labs this week, we now know that we've moved from the loading dock into the building. So those results are imminent. So we expect to see some news on the core hole here very quickly.
Now you say those results are forthcoming. This is the detached, and this is the same thing. This is a 3D version.
This is a 3D version of it. So you can see the pinpricks. Right? Those are the drill holes that we just completed.
Okay.
You can see this is the area where Mine Hill was, where it was mined historically. Now it doesn't show up. It would have been up here. It doesn't show up in the IP because obviously it's been mined out. But there is something happening here at depth, and that's part of the breccia that you would have seen in the previous cartoon image of the line 3. But really, we got to come over to this west side, northwest side. And if you look at the plan view, we maybe on the northernmost north hole, we might have touched that IP anomaly at the furthest part of the bottom. But really, the heart of it sits here, and that's going to be the priority for us in 2021.
And how deep is that?
Where it's staggering the size of it. It's over 2 kilometers wide by 1 kilometer. It's 2 by 1, 2 kilometers by 1 kilometer, and it's open north, south, and west, and at depth. At the north end, we're sitting. The IP anomaly sits at about 60 meters below surface.
Oh, okay. So it shouldn't be too expensive.
And as we come south, it gets deeper. So in the area where Mine Hill was, just if we were to go parallel across, so in this area, you're now sitting at about 450 meters, 300 to 350, sort of in between, and then down to 450. So you'll be able to get we're going to drill probably 800 meter holes, 700, 800 meter holes here coming up.
Okay, so you'll be able to get into the heart of it pretty quickly with core drilling.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so it's 20 holes in, or sorry, 13 holes in for us here. We did the IP We did geochem and soils across the larger 10 square miles. See the IP. We covered about probably 40% of our ground. We're going to come back and do more of that. We've got we've added to our geologic team, so we're going to be announcing a new chief geologist who's worked in this structure and this system in other parts of the world and made a couple of discoveries. Who is excited as all could be. And I think if you remember, Brian, I talked about how we brought out the gray-haired geo Rolodex, sort of spend 7 to 10 days in the field, all different types of specialists on epithermal and organic, structural, all of them coming out week to 10 days in the field. Well, the gentleman we're going to announce, he came September 10th. He never left. He went home for 3 days in October to switch his summer clothes to winter clothes because he was coming from another property. And then he went home for American Thanksgiving. So he went home on December 14th when he should have been back home September 17th. So he's really excited about where we are. We as a team are excited. We're doing weekly calls with the geologists. Right now they're in Sandpoint, Idaho. But certainly we're doing the desktop work to lead for a successful field season. And then with Banner, this is just our other property. So this is over in Idaho County. Banner is a new discovery. That was a property we bought off a family that had it since 1896. They had put in some historic adits where they were pulling out some gold and silver back in the 20s. What excites me, again, I put my investor hat on. When I meet with a company, first 2 questions I ask is, where's the closest gold mine and what was it last in production? So this Google Earth image tells me everything I need to know. I've got all these historic gold deposits north. And we got the Banner where we made our discovery. And then we got the Friday gold deposit 5 miles south. And the Friday is owned by a Swedish-Finnish mining company named Endo Mines. And in April of 2020, so April last year, they announced commercial production at the Friday. So as an investor, an Idaho champion, and I look at Banner, as we're able to build up ounces and improve a resource and do the economic and environmental studies around that resource, I'm comfortable that permitting is possible because I can point to the Friday as that's real and possible.
Right.
So our goal here is, can we expand that discovery zone? You see the blue dots on the land tenure map. That was our discovery program of 2018. Before we drilled, the question was, is there gold? Well, we answered that with that program. Now the drill program we've just completed, which are the purple drill pad locations to the northeast, is how much gold is there? And so we drilled 13 holes here. We expect to see those results probably in the next 2 weeks. So the challenge for us, like everybody else, is it's been a nuclear winter for the whole industry for a decade. And then spring and summer, everybody funded as one, and everyone went into the projects as one. And now everybody has sent their core to the lab as one. So the labs have been really bogged down with a lot of core being arrived. So we're now seeing they've started to clear the deck, and so we're seeing that information start to come. Like we've announced the drill results for our C holes at Champagne, where we had some nice intervals. I expect we're going to get the Banner results here probably in the next 2 weeks. So based on the invoicing, I'm going to think that Champagne will come ahead of Banner, but we should see drill results on both those properties imminently.
So just to set the stage, we have RC results from Champagne that have already been released. Can we kind of characterize those for?
Yeah, so the most important hole for us out of that program was hole 5, which started in the pit. We had over 207 meters of mineralization, but not all of it was economic. But certainly, if you're going to be doing an open pit, you would take all of it. With a 31-meter interval of just under a gram gold equivalent, with 16.8 meters of 1.3 grams gold equivalent, which was exactly in line with the type of results that BEMA had when they went into production. So fairly similar grade. Having done the groundwork outside the patents, we see some exposed breccias. We see an oxide opportunity still to the west. But again, because we didn't have the permits on BLM ground, we were limited as to where we could drill in 2020. But our drill permit application to the BLM will be submitted probably in the next 10 days after our geologic team finishes their planning this week. We had 2 members from the BLM out to the project in November to show them around, see the drill rigs and how we were being good, environmental and corporate citizens. So they feel comfortable with who we are and our operational capability. So I think we should have that permit for the larger land package very quickly. We're surrounded. We have all the BLM ground that is available. Everything else is private ground. So we've been talking to a couple of the ranchers about maybe doing either a lease option or some additional acquisitions in addition to the patents that we already own, just to allow us some different types of access as well.
So at Champagne, we had an initial round of RC holes that seemed to confirm the type of mineralization previously, either below or extending the pit. And your IP work, the geophysical survey, identified what seems to be a much larger detached target, similar to where the historic mineralization is. And you've got diamond drilling that extends on what you did with the RC, but doesn't quite come to that larger target as yet.
Correct.
Okay, and those diamond holes should be out pretty soon then.
I would think in the next, I would expect probably by midweek next week, we should have those.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, no, it's when I say imminent, we are,
Imminent.
the invoice has been flying in. So I know that we're now well through the assay review, turning
So
those.
the labs are pay your money and we'll give you the results that we have sitting in our hands, kind of a thing.
Well, I mean, the challenge for the labs, and God bless them, is they're always the last to believe in the sine curve of the metals anyway. They're always slow to ramp up. And then you add in the challenge of COVID where they can't run a lab 24/7. They can't fully staff it. Then they talk about I've talked to all of them I'm phoning them on a weekly basis, scratching my head why we haven't got info. And they're saying, well, nobody wants to work because they're getting these nice government checks. I said, well, raise your wages by $10. It's a pass through to us anyway. Like do what you need to do to get people working. Like it's, and if you need to scoop $5 for yourself, scoop $5 for yourself. But like you got a responsibility for us because we have a responsibility to our shareholders. But I think we've seen that get sorted out, but they were slow on the uptake, I'll tell you.
So we'll have diamond drill results coming up soon from Champagne, and you're permitting for 2021 to go toward that larger geophysical target.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So we are already permitted at Banner. So we drilled 13 holes. We have 29 drill pad locations approved. So we can go back with the need to do permit process there.
Okay. And at Banner, can you give us an idea of the tenor of the previous drilling in 2018?
Sure. Yeah, that's great. I overlooked that. So thank you. So we did 19 holes. All of our intercepts were in the top 100 meters. So it was an oxide discovery. We had one hole that had a sniff of sulfides, but it was quite deep down away from where the oxides were. The oxide was all good grade. We had really nice intervals. We had 18-meter interval, 13-meter interval, 16-meter interval, all well north of a gram, and several. We had 8 meters of 6.76 grams, like all numbers that were good. We did network. Met recoveries came in top tier, top of certainly everything about the network said nothing to be afraid of here. Keep drilling. And the grade itself was really good, comfortable grade. Oxide mine decisions are being done at 0.6 grams. We were multiples of that, so comfortable with where we stood in terms of that. And now it's, can we continue to expand that discovery zone? So that discovery zone is 500 meters north-south by 200 meters east-west. And how much can we grow that in terms of that discovery zone? And we need to come back and talk about infill drilling to see if we can start to build a resource to start leading towards a 43-101.
So your 2020 drilling was expanding that to the north?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So we moved north and northeast, chasing what we believe to be one of the fault structures. Because we had two parallel faults and structures within the IP that we had shot, and it's in the Organa Shear Zone, which is the whole structure that goes right through that part of Idaho for over 100 miles. We are in a known gold camp with gold deposits north of us and south of us, all in that same sort of structure. So now it's, can we connect the dots and can we build out that discovery zone and then come back and infill drill and prove up a resource? And
so that was diamond drilling, right?
That was diamond drilling, yeah.
Okay, and so you're going to have results from that drilling after Champagne at some point?
I would think that we should have all the drill results out between now and February 20th.
Really? Even from Banner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've finally been getting, like, we're using 2 different labs and invoices come in from both labs. So we're now in the building, now getting, they're now getting the ICP full spectrum treatment.
Wow. So we are actually, from 2 projects, going to have results in the very near future.
Yeah.
We'll have to get this recording out ASAP then, won't we?
This is a slide I like to refer to as our report card. We think it's about being accountable. Obviously, we've checked a lot of boxes. This was 2020's. We're putting together 2021's report card. But these are the things we want to be held accountable to. As I said, we own 32% of the company. We believe we have the right assets and the right team in the right jurisdiction to move these projects forward quickly. So these are the things that are going to generate our news flow. We still have over 400 geochem samples in the lab waiting to get those results as well, which won't necessarily excite the market, but will certainly help our geologists as they target and put together the immediate targets for the drilling. And certainly having the permit already in place at Banner. Banner gets a lot more snow in Elk City, so we're more seasonal there. We usually get in there in the field like late May, early June. But at Champaign, it's you can work there 12 months a year. So we'll be back in the field there late March doing some grassroots stuff ahead of planning that the actual drill. We'll be building the drill pad locations, doing some more sampling and geochem ahead of the drill program getting turning. So it's while we wait for the permit, there's still lots of work to get done in terms of our geologic understanding.
What do you think the timing would be on permitting? How long would that take?
They say it's 60 to 90 days. Because we've already had them out to the project, I'm hoping it's closer to 60 days. But having seen, we've had a change in administration, there's always a lag time there where people want to make sure they're comfortable with the instructions of the new administration. So that might be closer to 90 days, but conversations we've had, we're not, not expecting anything abnormal. So I would say with the permit getting it submitted by, let's assume mid-February, so February 15th.
Okay.
I'd like to think we would have that permit in hand by end of April.
Okay.
And then this is an important slide for any investor as well. We've got just under 93 million shares out. Again, we as a team, we own about 32% of that. That's all paid for stock. We've got a technical team as well as a capital markets team. So Bruce and myself and Paul were Toronto based. Paul's a securities lawyer, senior partner at Faskins, which is one of the big Toronto Canadian law firms. Greg and Patrick are both American, both are geologists, but also capital markets. Greg's based in Sandpoint, Idaho. He's been instrumental. He's been my lead director and partner for. Can you imagine not being able to travel, trying to put together 2 drill programs, deal with 2 geologic teams, contractors, labs, government agencies, family dynamic. Like without Greg, I don't know where we'd be. He's been fantastic. And Patrick is our most recent appointment. He joined the board in August. He had just come back from the stint with Fortescue. I've known Patrick about 15 years. I asked him to join the board because when he was at Newmont, he was responsible for joint ventures into juniors. So he knows what big companies are looking for. So I've asked him and tasked him with handling our data and managing our data so that it's familiar in a format that's comfortable for a mid-tier or large cap company to look at. Because usually those guys are looking for reasons to say no, not reasons to dig deeper. So I've asked Patrick to manage that data. And so we've got a good team. We've got at year end, we were about 3.1 million in the bank. I'd say after paying off some of the receivables plus the labs, we'll end up with about 2.5 million in the bank. Like as of right now, we have $4 million of in the money warrants at 15 cents. Management insiders own a chunk of those, but repeat shareholders own a lot of that. A dozen phone calls would probably bring in some of that money, but obviously I'm trading this morning at 16 cents. Tough to motivate somebody to want to exercise a 15-cent warrant when there's a 1 cent spread. So I'm hopeful and expecting that good news will see the share price appreciate to allow us to bring in some of that warrant money. And then there's another additional $6 million that were part of that institutional bought deal that we had in July. So really we have a war chest of $10 million available before we'd need to come back to the market. And the finance we did July was free trading. It was a prospectus offering bought deal. So there's no paper about to come out and slap us anything like that. So everything, all those shares are out and fully available to trade. And we trade decent volume. We trade about 250,000 shares a day. In the last 3 months, we traded 22 million shares. So there's, I think, enough liquidity for people that are considering coming in and taking a position. They know that if they don't like how things evolve, there's an opportunity to exit. But I think we're in a great situation for an investor that's being introduced to the company. We've got money in the bank. We've got results pending. We've got another program about to kick off. The delays in the lab are actually allow us to have real news flow on a 12-month basis as opposed to gaps. And I would invite them to join us with the journey. We've got marketing happening now around new information. Obviously, this is critical, new technical information. And maybe if while we're talking, if it's okay with you, Brien, I put on a drone video just to let people see sort of what we're doing in the field.
Yeah, and you don't need to go back, but that stock chart, it hit me that back in May and June, your share price is about 3 times what it is now, and the only difference being that it was a much better gold market back then.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
as
the
the
difference
rising
between, the
tide,
difference between May and now is we have money in the bank. In May, we were searching for money.
well, that's true too. That's
You
true.
know, so but I certainly think we can recapture that price and break through that price with the news flow.
Yeah, with the news flow and or if we just have a better gold market and people start looking for good gold exploration plays. So I'm interested to see this too.
Okay, so what we've done is, so one of our geos has his drone pilot's license. Now, I didn't know you needed to have an FFA license
Yeah.
to fly a drone. Now, you learn something new every day. So he has that. And so what we asked him to do is, could he just start doing videos on a regular basis, just so we could use that to update our shareholders? Because we raised this money, we couldn't even invite anybody for a site visit or anybody to see anything. So what we did was we were using this drone as a tool to show the use of proceeds and how we're spending the money. So this is at Champagne. You'll see the geography, the topography, what we're dealing with in terms of the local area. In the bottom of the pit, you'll see the RC rig turning. You'll see the core rig turning on the east side of the pit, and you'll see another one at the south end of the pit. You'll also see a drill pad getting built by some of our heavy equipment. Another aspect of what we've done is we try to embed ourselves in the community as much as possible. Our technical team, we've got a lot of Idaho people as part of our technical team, Idaho University grads. Our heavy equipment operator at Banner in Elk City, he's from Elk City. Our techs that cut the court are from Elk City, or from the just outside Elk City. At Champagne, we've done the same. Our heavy equipment operator, he's actually he's a deputy sheriff, and he's a volunteer fireman. The ranch beside us, we buy our water from, and he's excited about having us there. We've making as much of an impact in the community as possible. I've asked our team to make sure that not just be a good geologist, but be a good neighbor, be a good steward and representative of the company. So we're trying to do those things. We're trying to hire and spend as much money locally as we can, because we think it's important. And the families we deal with, we've partnered with in terms of our acquisitions and lease option. We've given them shares as well as the chance to be a partner for us for the long term. So we think it's a good time for Idaho. We think it's a great time for Idaho Champion. We think that we're in early days. The gold market is just starting. When you look at the Fed and the print that's happening globally, gold is gonna continue to shine and have its day. But
I certainly agree with that. On the big picture, looking at that pit, Jonathan, it looks like it somewhat follows the topography.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So that's really
you can see how shallow they literally just scratched the surface.
Yeah,
they mined to 35 meters.
That's a natural valley there that they went down.
No, they just took a part of the cap off.
Oh, okay.
So you're now seeing the RC rig in the bottom. They literally just took the west side of the they call it Mine Hill. They just took and there's actually two different distinct pits. So this is the north pit, and then the south pit is just sort of coming into the side from the south aspect. So that's the RC rig turning.
And is this where they had a lot of those 50-foot holes that ended in mineralization?
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's more to depth. And what were you able to do in that recent RC, those recent RC holes as far as expanding laterally?
So we see opportunities off the patents on the west side into the BLM ground in the oxide cap. So we're going to come back and test that this coming season. But again, I think having seen that IP and having a very seasoned geologist who understands the magnitude of that IP, I think our real top priority needs to be to go poke a couple of holes into that anomaly. But at the same time, we need to continue our regional work, continue to expand our understanding here, really get a sense of what we have. That we had the former Newmont chief geo or senior geo as one of the gray hairs come through. And so what we did was say boots on the ground, hammer in hand, mentor our juniors, and then write us a report and do a debrief call. And at the end of his week, he came. He said, "You got a tiger by the tail. You have no idea what you got. This is a big company project. You need to pursue this." And so that's what we're going to do. And we started that way, but we're going to continue to do that. We're going to be methodical in our approach and just gain our understanding. But we think 2021, we will make a discovery in the sulfides. We will also continue to expand the sites.
How big of a budget do you have for 2021, or do you think I know you don't have.
That's being worked on right this week. The whole technical team is in Sandpoint with Greg, working through the program and the budget. And strangely enough, in about 4 hours time, they're going to be presenting to me for me to take to the board. There are two different proposals. I've asked them for the skinny version and the fat version of what we're going to see in terms of what they want to see.
Mhm.
And then tasking me with either getting those warrants in or how we strategize in terms of rolling out the program tied to the capital we already have in hand.
You mentioned that your consultants are now saying this is a big company project. In that regard, would you be open to a major coming in with a JV if that's
I would much rather have made the discovery and make them pay up than to do it prior to that and have them steal it from us.
Mhm.
I've always believed JVs are wonderful, but they also inhibit you. So I would want to have a little bit more say when I'm having that conversation by knowing I've made that discovery in the sulfides.
Yeah. And speaking of the discovery, where, as we're looking now, is that big geophysical target behind
Okay,
it?
so we're now looking, we're looking north here.
Okay.
Sorry, no, we're looking south here. So it would be back over, if you see my arrow, it would be back this way.
Okay.
That's a great question. I should have had my video prompted for that. I will next time. I will next time. But yeah, no, that's we're very similar tundra though. Like you see what we're dealing with in terms of some rolling hills and then valleys around that. But
Very dry, huh?
yeah, it looks like northern Nevada. You know, it
Yeah.
looks very similar to what you'd see in northern Nevada. And the snow here, they maybe get a foot. Where in Elk City you get 6.5, 7 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they got their first real snowfall in Arkville last week. They hadn't really seen real harsh winters so far, which has our neighbors and ranchers worried about water for their cattle.
Is that a drill rig we're looking at right there?
That right there is a core rig.
Okay.
That's going underneath that one there. That was looking to see if we could touch any of the structures around the Moran Tunnel. So if you remember, the Moran Tunnel sits southwest of the pit.
Mm-hmm.
So we were looking to drill a 500-meter hole here to come across and see if we could tap into the structures that were a part of that moran, so that the last chance zone, the lead zone, the coppers that load, the bismuth load. So that's what the target of this hole was.
Okay, and that's going to be included in
that should be today's Friday the 5th. That I would think if you're watching this next Friday, that result will be in the market.
Wow, we'll have to get this out immediately then.
But this is the ultimate truth serum right here. We want to drill. A lot of companies, they want to run a good story by drilling. We can't wait to get back in the field and drill more. But that right there is a wealth creator. That rig right there.
Mm-hmm.
Good crews. I mean, if we were fortunate, so we had the same crew throughout the whole program. So from middle of August right through to December 14th. So we literally had bubbles at both properties. You talk about COVID and everything else. Like we had our own little bubble as teams. It was the first time ever in my career when I'm interviewing a drill company and asking what their COVID policies are. One person, one truck, these types of things that never had to think of before. That you have to adapt and move and work on the fly. But no, we were blessed with Mother Nature cooperating and good capable teams.
Well, they're very disciplined. They're not even looking up at the drone. So
yeah. But we've also done a couple of different versions. I mean, we've never done any type of marketing, so we've created a YouTube channel for our shareholders or potential investors that are interested, where we've now got those drone videos. We've also like when we participated in your New Orleans conference, we did that 5-minute introduction video. We've posted that to the drone to our YouTube channel. We've made a couple of other sort of drone with narration over the property, so people can go and see how we're advancing the asset. Because I think as an investor, when I think about my own portfolio, if I have a liquidity event in my life and I need to sell a stock, the one I sell is the one I know the least about. Right. I made a commitment to my shareholders. Idaho Champion will never be the one you know the least about. Now I can't travel because of COVID, but that doesn't mean we can't find new ways to communicate, whether it's using a drone and posting it to YouTube, or doing Zoom calls with shareholders or with you, so we can reach your subscribers and your audience, because you've introduced and recommended us starting in your October issue. We need to find new ways to communicate and be effectively showing that we're not dormant, that we are busy, and that we're going to continue to be busy.
Yeah, it's a new world, isn't it? I mean, we had to do that for the New Orleans conference this year and go completely virtual. And there's advantages and there's disadvantages. I think going forward, there's always going to be some virtual component now. and to everything. And people really need to do that, which is what we're doing right now. You know, our attendees are going to get this, at least initially, to have some time to take advantage of this information that you've shared with us. And then we're going to bring it out to the public, because that helps everybody.
Sure.
And have availability for this too. Jonathan, it sounds very exciting. I mean, a lot of results within the next week or two.
Yeah, no, it's been a long time coming. We've got news coming. We've got new targets out of the IP at Champaign. We've got a budget that allows, or a capital. We have capital to allow us to kick off the 2021 program. I think we should see share price appreciation to allow for some of that warrant money to come in. We've got good institutional support now, and it's put up or shut up. Let's get that drill rig turning, and then we'll touch that anomaly.
It is exciting. I know I had told you that my view, these geophysical anomalies are like Rorschach tests. You see what you want to see in it, and everybody can look at one and interpret it to see something. But that is one of the most compelling targets I think I've ever seen. Considering you have identified mineralization at the smaller detached portion of it, and then this is right. I don't know if it's a long strike, but it's certainly very close and very similar. So,
and you got the other historic mines, the Reliance, the Arco, the Ella, the Burnt Silver, all a part of that anomaly. So there's a feeder somewhere, and now it's our responsibility to go and touch the feeder, which we think we can do. So
results coming out very soon, and then even beyond that, you have the funding and the drill program to go test that bigger target once you get the permits in, which shouldn't take too long. Well, sounds very exciting. As I said, Jonathan, thank you for the update. Good luck with the results. We'll be watching them closely and reporting on them for our readers.
Thank you. I appreciate the time to connect again, Brien. Good to speak with you and reach out to your audience, and invite them to come along and join the journey with us. We have a great 2021 ahead of us.
Well, time's a wasting, because those results will be out pretty soon. Good luck on that.
Great. All the best. Nice to see you. Look forward to our next conversation.
Great. Thanks.
All right. Cheers. Be well.